Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Ite Namani.
He said, I have so many palaces all over the world that I can stay in. He said, practically speaking, there's no difference between me and the Goswamis in terms of our lifestyle. He said, they stayed under a different tree every night. I stay in a different palace every night. They wrote, I write. He said, originally, I did not want to come here. He said, Krishna, not to America, but to this world. He said, Krishna asked, I want you to write those books. Come down and write those books. And I said, I don't want to come to that. I don't want to go to that material world. And he said, Krishna said, don't you worry, I'll take care of everything. You write those books. That was the first and only time that I've ever heard or read, I might be wrong, where Prabhupada actually spoke about Krishna speaking to him and how he didn't want to go. And he made that face, his upper lip kind of, I did not want to go to that world. He said, I will take care of everything. You just come down and write those books. The atmosphere when he said that, it was just, it was like nothing I've ever experienced, ever.
We were in Prabhupada's room once, in the early 70s. I was sannyasi, so maybe 73, 74. And it was a beautiful afternoon. The sun was setting and golden rays were shining on Prabhupada. It was very sublime. A nice breeze was blowing. It was a very beautiful atmosphere. And Prabhupada took us back to old India, the turn of the century, and when he was a child, when he was a young householder. And he took us there, actually, and he began to talk about how people used to work and relationships between householders and their servants and how people used to cook and things. So there we were back in India with Prabhupada. And then he took us back farther to his early childhood when he was playing with, not playing, but having the Rath Yatra and worshiping Radha Govinda. And then only Karanda and I were in the room. The Prabhupada looked at us very strongly and said, whatever I'm doing now, I was doing then. Do you understand? And of course we were at that point kind of speechless. And then Prabhupada said, never was there a time when I did not know Krishna. Do you understand? And he said it in such a way that it was clearly the case. So that was a very powerful experience.
At this time in Delhi, because there was one Pandit who was Prabhupada's first disciple, Acharya Prabhakar Mishra, and he was a Sanskrit scholar, not only a Sanskrit scholar, but also he was very cultured. He had MA, PhD, everything. And he had been actually teaching Sanskrit. And Prabhupada went to Jhansi, and he actually told Acharya Prabhakar, he said, I came here because in a dream I saw you and I knew I was supposed to come. So then I came to Jhansi, and then that's when Prabhupada says, I met you for this reason. And so then he was there. It was a very cultured man. I was impressed by his demeanor. He was very well clean-cut and very well behaved and very articulate because he was a scholar. And Prabhupada, when he was there with him, They would do bhajan together. They'd actually go out and they'd do Rath Yatra, small Rath Yatra. They'd go do programs in other cities and everything around the area, small villages. And Acharya Prabhakar said that one night he had to go to Delhi. It was actually Krishna Janmashtami. He had to go to Delhi. He came back, took a little rest. Then he woke up. It was 1 a.m. And this was 1954, Janmashtami. And he said that he could hear Prabhupada playing Mridanga in the temple room. And it was very ecstatic. So he went upstairs. And when he saw Prabhupada there, Prabhupada was bouncing around the temple room doing kirtan. And he was wearing this long garland all the way down to his feet. And Prabhupada was just in total bliss chanting. So Acharya Prabhakar was watching this and he thought it was very strange because these were Kadamba flowers, and Kadamba flowers aren't real common in Jhansi. They're very rare in that area. And but the other interesting thing is Kadamba flowers are usually about this big, about the size of a golf ball. And the ones that were on Prabhupada's garland were the size of tennis balls. And this was pretty bizarre because it was very big. And the other thing was the aroma that was in the air. He called it upakrit, non-material atmosphere, because he was a Sanskritist. And he wanted to ask Srila Prabhupada, well, what was this? Where did this come from? This just doesn't, you can't buy it in the market, this garland. And the atmosphere was so surcharged. He said it smelled like heavenly planets, the aroma. So Prabhupada wouldn't answer. He just kept doing kirtan, bouncing around the temple room, chanting. Then the next morning, he asked Srila Prabhupada, what went on? What was this? Where did you get the garland from? Why did it smell so much? And why were you feeling so blissful? And Srila Prabhupada told him that I was feeling some love for Krishna, and I was chanting to him, and he appeared and gave me this garland, and I went to touch his feet or grab his feet, and then he disappeared. And that was it. And he said, because of that, I was dancing around the temple room. And he was crying, Prabhupada was crying and everything. And Acharya Prabhakar also said that sometimes Srila Prabhupada would chant kirtan for 3 days straight without eating and sleeping. He would just be doing kirtan on and on and on. And the other thing is the result of his bhajan, and the result of the bhajan was that Krishna had appeared. And so I was taking it to heart that what Acharya Prabhakar was saying had some validity to it because just the nature of Acharya Prabhakar, and he was very believable. And that basically was it with Acharya Prabhakar. There's a lot more. You can read it in Lilamrita, but there's more detail also. But that was very enlivening to hear.
Oh, another time in Los Angeles, the first time they played the Govinda prayers. First time in the history of ISKCON, I was there. And as Prabhupada entered the temple room, Vishnu John turned on the Govinda tape. And I used to always try and be behind Prabhupada's lotus feet so I could try and put my head at his lotus feet as he was offering his obeisances to each deity, to Gaur Nitai, to Radha Rukmini, to Radha Krishna, and to Lord Jagannath. And then he'd go sit at the Vyasasan. So that day, I'll just never forget, because when he sat on the Vyasasan, he was feeling such ecstasy. And tears were like shooting from his eyes. And those of us who were sitting near at the bottom of the Vyasa, we were getting showered by Prabhupada's tears.
Literally.
Literally showered. You could feel his tears, the shooting.
So during the 1976 festival in Vrindavan, there was, I believe it was Ram Navami, and there was a whole schedule that was started at Mangalarti and went all the way to midnight. Prabhupada was given a lecture that evening at Krishna's birthplace in Mathura. And there was a pandal set up. And 20,000 people came. So it was really very, very impressive. So, you know, there was Mangal Arati, and after Mangal Arati, I got to go on a morning walk with Srila Prabhupada. And when he got back, we had a whole program there. You know, he gave class, etc. Then they had all these dignitaries come from New Delhi. It was like the governor, I mean, you know, big, what would be equivalent to like a senator, state representatives, meeting Prabhupada all day. And I was just hanging outside his, you know, his room. Wasn't allowed to go in the room, but I was just kind of peeking in. And Prabhupada was just preaching like amazing all day long. And people were laughing, and you could just see the faces of all these dignitaries. I mean, Prabhupada was just, he was like a lion amongst lambs. He was just preaching so vigorously. I was amazed. Then, you know, that went on for the entire day. And then, of course, there was a festival, and then we went to, at night, we went to Mathura. And Prabhupada gave this lecture, which, as I said, about 20,000 people showed up. So Prabhupada started the lecture by saying, so because there are so many people here to hear Krishna's pastimes, and they may not speak English, I'm going to speak in Hindi, and I apologize. Prabhupada actually says, I apologize to my English-speaking disciples. Like he had to apologize to us. But while I was sitting there, I was looking around. There was like 20,000 people. He's preaching about Krishna and Lord Chaitanya. And I'm looking at the devotees. There's devotees from Africa. There's devotees from Europe. There's devotees from England and Australia and South America. And I'm thinking about Bhaktivinoda Thakur, how he said, when will the Americans and Englishmen and Germans come and with their hands raised high say, Jai Sachinandana Gora Hari, right? When will that day come? And I was like, wow, the day has come. And there's all these devotees there. And I was thinking, Prabhupada, you did it. I was thinking, you did this. You have done this. And now you're preaching to 20,000 people, and you were preaching to all these dignitaries all day long. You've done it. You don't have to do anything else. You've done it. You can just, you know, kind of rest on your laurels. You don't need to push. You've done it. You've done it all. You know, and of course, with Prabhupada's accomplishment, there was fanfare. People really, you know, he did an amazing thing, miraculous thing. So, you know, one might think, oh, well, you're getting certain kind of distinction, and, you know, people are appreciating that you're speaking to 20,000 people like this. But Prabhupada wasn't like that. He wasn't interested in that. He was just interested in glorifying Krishna. So what happened is the talk went on for quite a long time, into the night. And by the time we got back to Fogel Ashram, we were staying at Fogel Ashram, it was like midnight. And everyone was completely exhausted. I mean, the day was just like, I'm done, you know. I'm like the, you know, zombies, the Walking Dead. And, but unfortunately, I had gotten a little sick because I ate some jalebis in the marketplace, right? What is that place called down in Vrindavan? Whatever. Loi Bazaar. So, you know, I got sick and, you know, diarrhea. So I went to take rest and like, you know, ran to, you know, did my stuff and came back, lay down, 5 minutes later, get up, go back, lay down. Every time I laid down and relaxed, I had to go back. It was just really hellish. And this was like going on for about a half hour. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to be able to sleep. I might as well just stay up and go chant my japa. And I'll go down to the temple. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. So everyone was, I mean, like everyone was dead. Dead tired, exhausted from all the festivities. I was the only person. I walked down there. I was the only person walking from Fogel Ashram. It was was almost a little scary, actually. But also really sweet, too. Very quiet, very sublime in Vrindavan. So I came out the front of Krishna Balaram's temple, and I started to circumambulate. And as I came around the back of the temple, I was right next to Srila Prabhupada's room. And there was a light on. Now, Prabhupada has been preaching, tirelessly since 4 o'clock in the morning. It's 2 o'clock the next day. And in his room, he has his dictaphone. And he's going, Srila Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur says in his explanation of the Gita. And Prabhupada's translating the Bhagavatam. And I'm like, why? You've already done it all. You've done everything. You've done this big festival. There's no one around to see you doing this, but he was there translating the Bhagavatam. And he was doing it for us. That was the only, logical, he should be exhausted himself. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. He got back at midnight. And he's translating the Bhagavatam. And I got to I chanted my japa, and it was just me and Prabhupada. He didn't know I don't know if he knew. He knows whatever Krishna wants him to know. And I just got to watch him translate the Bhagavatam for about 20 minutes. And then his servant came out and kicked me out. I'm like, I'm not doing anything. But the amazing thing was Srila Prabhupada's tireless pursuit of giving Krishna consciousness to this planet, to this world, to this universe. And that's why he's the spiritual master of the universe.
I was having the service of being in Vrindavan, and I was in charge of the kitchen. And Ayodhyapati, who is Govinda Maharaj, he was the cook. So Prabhupada left, so everybody went to his room, because I was doing service, but I had no time to go to Prabhupada's room, because I'm too busy with my service. Somebody has to finish the cooking, prasadam has to be taken care of, devotees are coming. So this is more important than sitting with Prabhupada in his room, Prabhupada wants. But the last 3 hours I was next to Prabhupada, sitting. His head was there, and I was sitting here, and I was feeling a little uncomfortable even to touch Prabhupada and do the last massage. At that time he was easily available to everybody. But I was very shy. I thought, wow, I'm so fallen, how can I touch Prabhupada and give him massage? Let me just do kirtan with the rest of the devotees. And I was very carefully observing his lips. And Prabhupada opened 2 times the mouth. Hare Krishna, that was it. There was only 2 times. But I could see very clearly it was Hare Krishna, and that was it. Prabhupada left just by saying Hare Krishna.